Hello, and welcome once again to What's the Damage? Companion show to the incredibly well-known and popular real play D&D show Roll for Damage, as seen on television. Last Friday, our heroes did some wheeling and some dealing, and some more wandering around in alleys. They did manage to find the man that they were paid to find, and actually managed to get pretty much everything they wanted. There was also one very clutch cameo from Lex, which was super fun, to whom they now owe quite a bit. We'll be discussing that and a bunch of other stuff right now. Then, after our weekly recap, we'll be discussing another nightmare scenario for D&D players: how to deal with problematic players and trouble at the table. As always, stick around after the stream for links and resources. I'm your host, Truth Venson, and this is What's the Damage? Welcome back. Joining me today is the gross couple themselves. We have the wonderful Chad, the wonderful Laura, playing Quinn and Perry, respectively. So, guys, what's the damage? You had a very important meeting and did a little bit of role play inside your role play.
And nobody died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, miracle upon miracles, nobody died.
Right?
Yeah, let's pick Perry to be the face of everything. That's a good idea.
I mean, she didn't do half bad, to be honest.
No, she did pretty great. I mean, also, she's a way better choice than putting Quinn in that situation because -1 to all charisma-based abilities, and the only reason I'm not rolling negative on saves is because I'm a cleric.
And Quinn loves just fighting people, so...
I mean, he's better at that than talking to people. Why have feelings when you can have a hammer?
Yeah, play your strengths. Play your strengths.
Quinn's entire personality is just fight me.
Not his entire personality. Most of it, but not all of it.
Percentage.
A large
He has
portion.
some layers. One, he has a layer.
Oh, he's like a single onion ring.
Yes.
Yeah. Crunchy and delicious. Anyway,
Yes.
So at the beginning of the episode, you guys did go in circles a little bit, but eventually decided that the very best possible option, and what I think was the funnest option, which was Perry going along with Dobby and pretending to be the butcher.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a delight.
I mean, it boiled down to who hadn't been seen. And the problem was the only one who hadn't been seen was Perry. Well, okay, let's put it this way. The only one who hadn't been seen and also hadn't done drugs or slept on a table.
And could lie convincingly, maybe.
Has Cynric been seen?
No, but he slept on a table and was exhausted.
Okay, true. Yeah, and unfortunately, Oriana had made herself known in Baltime's blue, so...
Yes.
You know. So by process of elimination, we had our Lady Butcher.
Lest we forget, Baltime is blue. We must always remember every episode. Baltime is blue.
The tallest Smurf.
The tallest Smurf. Like, what is he? Like from Avatar.
Yeah.
movie from way back when. Do you remember that? That came out 20 years ago.
I do remember
It did
that.
not actually come out 20 years ago.
Okay, I was saying,
That's a lie.
I've got enough gray hairs. Please do not add to them today.
You don't have any right now. They're all purple or pink.
That's
Pinkish
not true.
purple.
That is not true. I found a great big one.
Oh no.
I've been going gray since I was 26, y'all.
I found a gray hair when I was 23, but my mom pulled it out, and now I haven't got another one since. I'm sad. Anyway,
Off topic.
Off topic.
This whole show is off topic.
we go back and forth. Okay, we get on top, we get off topic, we go back to topic. It's fine. It's cool. The viewers love it. The viewers love it. It's like having a conversation with us. Parasocial relationships. Anyway, so you guys, so like Perry's hardly the face of the group, but you did not do half bad, I thought. So what were you like thinking going into this situation? How confident was Peregrine, and how confident were you as a player that you could pull something off?
As a player, yeah, I mean, I was channeling like 3 different characters trying to like make Perry seem like she might be possibly the butcher. Mm-hmm. But also, I was like, I'm one bad deception roll away from death this whole time.
Isn't that always true?
That does sum up a lot of D&D, yeah.
Terrified. There was a reason she didn't make small talk.
She was very straightforward, which honestly I think was a pretty good, was a good vibe to have. Very butcherly. Especially when you are like wholesale making up a personality for this drug lord.
I think my biggest fear and Perry's biggest fear was, oh no, this guy is going to know who the butcher is. Like I'm going to get in there and he's going to actually know who the butcher is.
Yeah.
And he's going to take one look at this little crunchy druid bitch and say, no.
Like, you look different than last time we had coffee.
Yeah, really.
Uh-huh. Changed a lot since Friday.
and then he had to say he was from Dash.
Yeah.
And I swear I was white knuckle on the chair, just like, please don't know who the butcher is. Please don't know who the butcher is.
Yeah, I do have to say too, what like when you guys were like walking through the alleys towards the thing, and your guys started asking about like cuts and purity and like movement. I was like, oh fuck. And actually, I also thought that the when he said cut, he meant purity of the product. I also thought that. Apparently he meant money. But anyway, so what was it like throughout the whole experience, just like tag teaming bullshit with Dobby, who I don't think Perry has worked with that closely before, like maybe once or twice, but
yeah, no, Perry and Dobby they're the unlikely buddy cop duo. Mm-hmm. Like you expect it to be like Balzaim and Dobby out there buying and doing drugs. But for Perry, it was really, she had a lot riding on her, and like the amount of pressure on that tiny little druid. Don't mess this up. But for me, it was a blast. I was terrified, white knuckle on the edge of my seat, like one bad roll is gonna screw everything. And right as Perry screwed up, and I thought I had a very good answer. My deception thought otherwise.
The dice disagreed. I thought it was a good answer too. It was like, okay, this sounds plausible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was trying, Perry was trying to remember, like, no, I know who runs one of them. I don't know who runs the other, but Dobby has said a lot about how he works for no one. So let's just go with no one. Mm-hmm. But then the dice said, no, you're a liar, and he knows it. Mm-hmm. But Dobby comes in clutch, and I have never been so grateful for his mouth in my life. Because, except when he offered 1,000 gold.
Yeah, he offered money we do not have.
Yeah, he really highballed you there.
Yeah.
I was like, but I mean, Perry was super nervous, but also like she knew that somebody had to do it. And a lot of times that's how she winds up doing things. Well, somebody has to do it. Somebody has to leave and find a cure. Somebody has to go pretend to be a dog and sniff around for clues. Somebody has to go be the butcher. So why not Perry?
Right.
Why not Perry? That's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Do you need a Scooby-Doo? Why not Perry?
I think I said this before, but I feel like Perry is like sort of stepping into the role of that one kid in the group project who's the only one who actually cares about the group project. So they're in charge by default.
Yeah. It's a little bit of that. I mean, and especially with the current mission, when we all couldn't get along and we all couldn't like decide what we wanted to do. And Perry's just like, look, we made a promise. We have to follow through on the promise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of that, you guys did manage to find Callahan. Yay. So I guess everything does tie back in the end. Are you looking forward to being able to fulfill that promise and getting a little bit of money in your pockets again? Especially after you've had to pay 500 gold to get Dobby back alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna make Dobby earn back his 500 gold worth.
Dobby keeps costing us money. I mean,
he's a very expensive halfling.
Yeah, he keeps costing us money for bad decisions he makes.
Look, he's accustomed to a certain lifestyle.
That lifestyle being
writing checks that his tiny ass can't cash while his friends have to cover for him financially.
It's a lifestyle.
It is a lifestyle. I'm not saying it isn't, but apparently that's what he's chosen.
Yeah. But anyway, can you tell me like how both of your characters feel about having accomplished like this task, which you almost like handed off to the guards several times, but then like took back, but tried to hand off again, then took back, and you're like, finally, okay, we did this. We did it.
I mean, Quinn's probably feeling pretty good about it because he actually got to accomplish something that helps somebody else. Also, I'm not sure how close he was to trying to hand things off to the guards. It was more like,
I don't think either of you characters were, but
no, he was like of a mind of, okay, fine. If we literally reach our deadline where we have no choice but to leave town, but we've got enough intelligence to give to someone else to try and solve this, then okay, I guess that makes sense. But until then, it's no, this person is in danger. We promised we would help, therefore help.
I think for Perry, she feels pretty accomplished because like she didn't feel like she doesn't trust the guards very much. Given what happened in Dahana when the sheriff was corrupt as all get out, and then they got thrown in jail in Zrizamar, which, but that was actually kind of their fault a little bit. But at the same time, like she doesn't trust guards because she hasn't had a good experience with one. And she's heard twice that the guards wouldn't help someone. They didn't help the lady whose family was in the desert. They didn't help this man find his son. So she just assumed, well, they're going to shrug this off unless they find this kid's body. And we don't want to find this kid's body. So for her, it's like a big sense of accomplishment. Like, I told you we could do this. But I don't think she's going to really feel accomplished until we deal with the real source.
Definitely, which is something exciting that's going to happen next episode probably.
100%.
But that's something that I have been noticed as you guys have been wandering around Zrizamar, like as a viewer. It really does seem like the guards are just very concerned with their roots and nothing else, just like real cops.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's interesting wandering around because the guards seem to just be here in this town to maintain status quo.
Yeah.
Is this on fire? No. Should it have been on fire? No. We're fine. And then they wander on to the next thing and continue. And they basically, it's like, that is their job, is they wander through town, making sure the things that are burning should be burning and that should not be burning are not. But anything else outside of that, they seem to just be like, your husband's missing? Okay, file a report. Your son was kidnapped, probably? File a report. And then just they continue on. It's this... It's basically enforcement by doing nothing except solving the large problems.
Right.
Which is why you adventurers exist. Taking care of the little guy.
There is a reason vigilantes are a thing.
D&D is basically vigilantism.
It is.
It is.
We
It's
literally had this conversation as a group.
yeah,
like
it's
3 or 4
fantasy
times.
superheroes.
Like,
Yeah,
we're gonna commit crimes, but we're gonna commit crimes for the right reasons because we're vigilantes, so it's okay.
right. I mean, if you think about people like, like the street level superheroes, like, Batman, Daredevil,
Spider-Man.
they're committing assault. I mean,
Yeah,
yes.
lots of assault.
Like Batman is a good example because he is committing several felonies in the course of an evening. But the idea of what he's doing, what he's committing the felonies for, is he's trying to stop the drug ring, the weapons trafficking, the human trafficking, the Joker. Therefore, what's a few assaults here and there if it means that there's not all those things on the street?
Yeah, also in like Batman lore, like Gotham PD is famously corrupt and incompetent.
Oh yeah.
So
there's literally like 2, maybe 3 good cops at a time in the entire city.
Get off topic again. Anyway, sorry, we have to talk about Batman if Batman comes up. Like that's the rule. Anyway, so Quinn, while Perry was doing her level best, you were wandering around looking for a T-shaped gray building, following some very confusing instructions. Yeah. How was that?
That was, I mean, for the player, this whole thing was just absolutely nuts and a lot of fun. For the character at that point, it was just, and I said this during the stream, it's like, if you're trying to find something and you got directions from a friend, and then the friend gave you the worst shit directions ever. And then the longer you're trying to find the place the friend guided you to, the angrier you get at the friend that gave you the directions, at the idea of the directions, at the fact that you're even going anywhere, at just everything. Like by the time you even arrive there, you're just so pissed you don't even want there to be a place there anymore.
You want it to have burned down.
You want it to have burned down just so you can stand there and be like, good. You deserve this. But that's about where he was by the end of it. And had he not seen Perry running out and being visibly upset and giving him something else to focus on and a problem that was obviously coming up, he most likely would have tried to find Dobby and then get his hammer and golf swing him down the street.
Might still happen.
It might one of these days.
Yeah. So luckily you guys had Lex in your pocket, which turned out to be quite clutch. I was worried for a second though that you guys maybe would try to do something else because occasionally, you come up with bad plans.
Sure.
What do you think would have happened if you guys had like failed to remember that you had Lex in the back pocket, as it were?
I think Baltaim might have gotten his way.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, maybe it was the hangover from the drugs, but Baltaim just wanted to go in and kill everybody.
He was aggro as fuck.
He was very aggro. And the thing was, Perry would have gone with him.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, Quinn would have gone because you people wander away from her for 5 minutes and probably die. So
that's true.
He does not want that to happen.
Yeah, because there was no way we were going to get the guards to come rescue him. They were like,
No.
"Oh, what? You intended to do a drug deal, and you got busted."
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so you're saying there's this drug ring distributing things out of a warehouse down in the warehouse district. That's far.
I'm going on break in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, look, if I'm going to catch my fantasy bus, I really got to go now. So just tell the day shift guy when he gets here in 7 hours.
Oh, yeah.
You adventuring types, you just keep blowing holes in buildings and
killing spiders.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
What are we gonna do? Stop the drug ring?
God, right?
So much effort.
You want us to work?
We're very busy walking our routes. This is a big deviation. Like, I do not go to the warehouse district normally.
That That T-shaped gray building is none of my concern. That's Greg's shift, and he won't be in until tomorrow.
Actually, no, Greg's on vacation, so come back in a week.
Oh man, that's the way of stuff.
Stupid Greg.
Anyway, stupid Greg going on vacation. Like, we know his wife is like super pregnant right now, but whatever.
Seriously, I mean, God.
Like,
Get
there's
your
no
shit
one else.
together.
There's no one else who's gonna guard these T-shaped buildings,
Get your shit
Boring.
together, Greg.
right? Anyway, yeah, I think you guys could have probably fought your way through, but luckily you did remember that you had Lex and came up with, pretty good plan for how to utilize this decent resource.
Mhm.
So like as you were marching back, like off to rescue Dobby with this, okay, we're gonna talk our way through this. We're gonna ask our patron for help. Did you guys think that was gonna work in character or out of character, or did you think you probably would end up fighting?
Harry had a good idea that it might work because the way that the guy had mentioned Lex, it was sort of this like, you people don't know her. If you really are who you say you are, which I doubt. So Perry kind of figured maybe we'd have a little tussle, but we were going to come out on top because her plan was to just walk in and go, you wanted to say hi to Lex? Well, I just thought you'd do it yourself. Click.
Got her on FaceTime.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
I was pretty sure it was going to work because Lex seems to be the equivalent of the nuclear launch button. Just press this button and whatever the thing is that's annoying you will probably stop annoying you because it'll either be scared or dead. That's basically our relationship with her so far. We're helping her because we are scared of being dead.
That's a good reason to do stuff.
Yeah.
It's valid. So are you guys worried about how far into the hole you are with Lex when it comes to favors and knowing people's stuff?
A little bit. Me, I'm a little worried. Perry, she's a little terrified at this point that they've gotten in so deep. And she really just wanted to find that cure.
Yeah.
I don't know how worried Quinn is about being in the hole to her at this point because so far she has not asked us to do anything other than, hey, this person used to work for me. You're going this way. Make sure they're not dead.
Yeah.
And also go to this place where we can figure out why these monsters want you dead and what we can do about that. And then, by the way, you've just been dragooned into helping us save the entire world. So it's like everything she said to do has been for some sort of good cause, either for our own lives or to help somebody else. So she has yet to try to get us to do anything like, hey, I need you to kill someone, or I need you to rob this house, or I need you to set this family on fire, or, just something like that.
I need you to kick this puppy for me.
Yeah.
Just like give it a good punt.
Just punt this small, adorable dog.
As hard as you can.
Well, I mean, that's where Perry's going to draw a line in the sand. Yeah. So
Perry will basically adopt that adorable dog.
Aww. I have kinship with dogs.
Yeah.
Well, that's a problem for future you.
Yeah, let those assholes deal with it.
Yeah, right? So,
guys.
Are you guys excited to fight a hag?
Yes.
Laura is excited to fight a hag. Perry is concerned.
Are you guys familiar with hags like in character?
Perry probably has no idea at all what she's getting into. Which is why she's terrified.
Yeah, pretty sure maybe Quinn has heard like a folk tale or a bedtime story or something involving a hag. So he doesn't really know how to piece together what the truth is on that because, his life has become this completely surreal hallucination sort of experience.
That's a good way to describe it. Just kind of like a fever dream of stuff.
It kind of has been. It's been an interesting time. So in his head, he's probably trying to piece together Well, what of these things could they do? Cast magic? Probably. Eat your soul? Maybe.
Possibly. Yeah. Well, we'll see this Friday, not next week,
Yes.
this Friday. Awesome. Okay, and with that, we're going to move on to our topic for the day, which is dealing with problematic, not characters, but actual players. We're talking about real life stuff and trouble at the table. So first off, both of you, please share your worst tabletop horror story with me right now. I want to hear the trauma.
Okay.
You first.
Yeah, because I was saying he knows which one I'm going to tell. He was running a game for us and myself and some friends who somehow decided that they were going to play a pacifist and just the most chaotic necromancer ever. And we got into a great big town battle with airships, and the pacifist character wouldn't save her own life and died.
Mm-hmm.
So then they roll up two brand new characters, a half elf and a full elf. The full elf leans real hard into that elves are racist against everything vibe.
Neat.
To the extent that they would actively speak Elvish so that my character did not understand them. They would refuse to do anything with my character. And what was the thing they did? There was, every time the elf spoke to me, she would call me a half-breed because I was playing an Aasimar. And she would say, it's okay, I'm a half-breed too, because she was like sun elf and high elf or something.
Yeah.
So just like a genuinely very racist character.
She was
extremely
atrociously racist to the extent that I left the table, went to another room and cried because I was, first of all, so angry and there was like nothing I could do. I was at the point where I was ready to flip a table.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, I had dedicated myself to this character or this campaign. And I was really excited. And there's nothing like being treated like absolute garbage at the table to make you feel miserable.
Yeah. Yeah, the game where those characters were introduced was the last one that we played because at that point we just were like, oh, sure, yeah, we'll schedule something. No, we didn't.
No.
The narrative for Arrested Development comes in. They didn't.
And then they did not.
Yeah.
So were you like friends with this person?
Yes.
We still are friends. They're just, you know how you have friends you can do lots of other things with, but you can't do this like one thing.
Mm-hmm.
D&D is that one thing.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, they were in our wedding. The guy even designed our wedding invitations.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Just don't let him play elves.
It wasn't him that was racist, it was his wife.
Oh, don't let his wife play elves.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, she doesn't take a very nuanced approach to any character. Like, like the stereotype of rogues is rogues steal everything that isn't nailed down. That's what she wanted to do with a rogue. She made a centaur cleric that was a pacifist. She wouldn't kill anything. Her whole idea was she wasn't going to even kill monsters. She wanted to basically start a zoo. And what she wanted to do was she wanted to basically, after the monsters were killed, heal them to bring them back to life and say, now, if you behave and just come with us to our zoo, you can live safely. And then just continue killing them and reviving them until they got with it. So she essentially invented waterboarding in D&D. Kill, bring back, kill, bring back, kill, bring back. And for however many times it would take, that was her whole idea.
Huh.
And that's because that was her pacifist. And then there was okay, well, I'm an elf. Therefore, if you're not an elf, you're basically street trash. So
cool. Honestly, like the evil zookeeper is kind of a cool concept, but I feel like when you have concepts like that, you do have to be aware of how that affects your party. Like you can't
She saw nothing wrong with it.
They wanted to start small businesses in D&D.
Yeah.
Like we had a different campaign, and the first one would have been great. What we were going to do was open a tavern that we would then hire people to run and like make an adventurers guild so that we could go out and have passive income.
Yeah.
Cool.
That would have been really cool. We invited some other people to come join our table, and they weren't really into it, and it kind of killed that campaign. So we started the new one, and this one was a zoo.
Yeah, that was their whole thing, is they wanted to build a zoo to generate passive income. They didn't really want to play D&D as much as they just wanted to start a small business in fantasy terms. So they could basically be playing adventure capitalist and be earning gold constantly while they're not actually doing anything.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting approach.
Yeah, interesting is a word.
That's
Oh my God. Huh. Honestly, that's a cool concept, but I feel like they just went about it in kind of a asshole-ish way, like not really taking into account how that was affecting what the other players wanted to do. Anyway, I
Right.
still need a horror story from you, Chad.
Yeah, well, I wanted to make sure she went first because that's a lot of hers. The most, I don't know, interesting one I can think of is, it's a campaign that we're in actually right before we started playing with this whole group that we're with now. For whatever reason, and I still to this day do not know why, the DM of that game, I guess as an effort to try and screw with Laura, had my character start having to, whenever a woman, like a female character came around, and every time he found art for a female character, he would get the most stereotypical, scantily clad,
Like bar wench stuff. Yeah.
with boobs that are basically half the size of her body. And every single, and this is every female NPC he created.
Every single one.
This was all of them. And he made my character specifically start having to roll wisdom saves to not just stare directly at their tits. Every single time. To the point where I don't know what he was trying to do. And I never found out because we eventually just decided we're kind of done here. So
yeah,
we bounced.
Strange.
Our going through was seriously that he thought it was funny to fuck with the couple that was together, obviously. I don't know how to respond to that. Because we were, apparently Siri doesn't understand either.
Yeah. Good call, Siri.
Because, I mean, we've been together a while. We started playing in campaigns together. And like, it was also like heavily implied in this campaign that all of the female NPCs were definitely prettier than my character. Like, they were definitely more attractive.
Yes, because he basically pulled every single one scrap of clothing away from porn fantasy image that he could find for creating his female NPCs. And none of the other characters in the game had to do the same thing. That like any of the other ones that, okay, yeah, you're fine. Don't even worry about it. Like, yes, she has massive boobs, but yeah, you're a gentleman. You're not gonna stare at those. Meanwhile, you roll the wisdom save, you ass. Like,
okay, that's very perplexing choice for a DM to make, honestly.
It is.
I think like trying on purpose to make your characters uncomfortable is always a perplexing choice as a DM.
Yeah.
Well, he had a very adversarial relationship with the players in a way. It was like he would joke about, oh, well, if you miss this week, that's just more monsters I can throw at you and kill you next week. Like,
okay, dude.
That's not
yeah,
what
like
we're
literally
here
we
for.
left for our honeymoon and we weren't going to be in that session. So like we canceled the session.
Yeah.
Because we left for our honeymoon and then we weren't going to be back for 2 weeks after the wedding. And he was like, well, that's okay. I'll just like triple the encounter. And I was like, you will? What if I just don't play with you anymore?
Yeah, what if we're gone for like ever?
What if bye? And then we were.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah,
now
unfortunately.
You have to tell one.
Oh, me?
Well, yeah, obviously.
Oh, fuck.
You're not exempt.
Huh? Sorry, are you on stream? Can they hear you? Okay, Serenity just said playing with me, and that's not true. Serenity's a joy to play with and to play under. Yeah, I don't actually have that many D&D horror stories. Like, so far my D&D experience has been overall pretty cool. Like just some minor stuff. Oh, there was that one time when I kicked somebody out of my game because they didn't support abortion, but that's like, I'm not sure if they count a problem player. Actually, they were a little bit, to be honest. Yeah, Matt, do you remember Matt? Serenity's still talking to me. Like, voice of God in my head. Yeah, but essentially there was this one character who was playing in Frank's game, which is the game that I started with Serenity in, and then in my game, which like branched off of that. I don't know, he was just kind of weird overall. Like he had this one thing, like they were in a dungeon, and he was playing a what's the word, a doppelganger, like one of those shape-shifty people, which is a cool character. Changeling. Yeah, he was playing a changeling, and he like shapeshifted into one of the guards, and then he was with a female, like one of his, who they're both imprisoned together, and they were caught, and his excuse for like why he was with her is, oh, I'm just like gonna take her into another room and fuck her, because that's what we do because we're guards. Yeah,
Oof.
so I on the spot decided that these guards have a very strict no sexual assault policy and they had to fight their way out. But yeah, and then later on, outside of game, like he revealed that he was like anti-abortion and was involved in like some of those weird things where they like give people who are seeking abortions like wrong medical literature. So I just was like, okay, I don't think I can play with you. Please leave my game.
Yeah.
Don't come back.
Not welcome.
Not welcome here.
No, go away. Go away, never come back.
Yeah, but apart from that, he was not a problem, but that was a big enough problem that I didn't want him around. I think, yeah, he was, the other female players didn't like get along with him that much. TBD. TBH? Yeah, TBH.
To be determined.
To be determined.
You don't know.
You
have to
determined.
It is to be determined as to whether or not the female players did get along with him.
They did.
One moment while Truth does some text messaging to get answers.
Hey, y'all thought that guy was skeevy, right? Hold on.
Just pop back on the Discord real quick and be like, hey, remember Matt?
Hey, remember that skeevy guy? He was skeevy, right?
Not just me.
Oh, that'd be fun. Like Jen would have a whole rant ready for Matt. It's great.
Oh man.
Jen. Anyway, so that's my horror story. So pretty much when it comes to problematic people at the table, you have essentially two categories. One, I think, which is a little bit easier to deal with, and the second, which is a little bit harder to deal with. Those two categories are player and DM. Now, I think if you have a problematic DM who just makes you uncomfortable, who you don't like playing under, that's kind of the whole game. So it's very hard to find something to do in that situation. You've both revealed that you've had problems before. Like, is there anything that a player can do short of leaving the game to try and like salvage a game like that, try to salvage the situation?
It kind of depends. I mean, I've known enough people who they have this sort of weird level of privilege where they don't realize what they're doing because they've just been indoctrinated to think, oh, this is fine, who are accidentally stupid or accidentally hurtful. And they don't realize it until you're like, hey, what the hell?
It sucks. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean? And then you explain it and they're like, oh no, I had no idea. So you can kind of talk those people through that sort of thing. Like, hey, you realize this is actually offensive or hurtful or makes people uncomfortable, right? But then there's the other side of that coin of the people who know what they're doing and don't really give a shit if it's making you uncomfortable. So, I mean, it just sort of depends on which end of that spectrum you're dealing with as far as whether there is a way to salvage it. Because if it's just the person who's, not at all aware of what they're doing, you can talk them through it and help them figure it out. But if they know what they're doing, then it's best to get back on Roll20s looking for group forums.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a level of comfort you need at a level of knowing that they'll listen. Like with the group that we were in previously, I knew we couldn't talk to this guy. He thought he was funny. He thought what he was doing was okay. Anytime anybody would complain, or even jokingly say something about, oh, this is weird, or oh, this is not cool, or, you know, even like jokingly saying, hey, look, this encounter was like way much, he would get like really defensive and argumentative. And like when you know that relationship is super adversarial, there's no talking to that person. And that's kind of the situation we were in. And so if you can't talk to them, and a lot of times, like, I won't join a group if I don't feel comfortable with the DM anymore, especially after that.
Yeah.
Because when we left that group, we were at a point where we were miserable every time. And in the back of my head, I kept wondering, what is he going to do to my character?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, is he going to do a thing that crosses the line? Because when he does, I don't think he will give a shit. And so we just bounced. But if you can talk to your DM, if you can be like, hey, okay, that crossed a line. Can we not do that anymore? A good DM, someone you can trust, will be like, oh, yeah, no, thanks for the heads up. Let's not do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's especially like it especially sucks like when you're a female or female presenting player with a male DM, and like there's sort of like the floating threat of sexual assault against your character, because like you don't always know like what DM is going to think that that's okay without consulting you first, because some DMs think that's okay without consulting you first. Like that's definitely happened to my characters in the past. I think I blocked that out. I should have told that horror story.
Sounds like you just rediscovered trauma.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Repressed memories.
That wasn't with D&D. We were playing what was it? Heroes Vault. It's like this really complex like superhero system, and it was
I know of that.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, the book is like literally a brick this thick.
Yeah.
It looks like Les Mis.
Yeah.
But essentially, like there was this villain who had mind control powers, and my character got whammied and raped. So yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Jessica Jones much. Yeah, so that kind of made that game not fun. It was fun previously.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think there is that floating threat though. And it's shameful and terrible. And you see those stories all the time of people saying this sort of thing happened in their game. And for me, it's like, there's no reason for D&D to be dangerous to a female or female presenting player.
No.
And the fact that there are DMs out there who will just, it's just pretend.
It's a game.
That floating threat is terrifying. It is another reason that like I only play in games I trust with people I trust.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm not going to say like a flat no, never on that kind of thing happening in a game, but it's definitely something you need to clear with players beforehand. Definitely. And like if there's like going to be a situation where this is a risk, you need to talk to your players before going to the situation.
Yeah,
just be like, just so you know. And you should always be open to them saying no, so you can figure something else out.
No,
right.
Definitely.
Like if you can't work around someone saying, no, I'm not comfortable with the idea of my character being sexually assaulted, then what the hell business do you have actually being a DM? I mean, if you can't, like, if you can't creativity. If you can't not incorporate that into your story, what are you, George R.R. Martin?
Yeah, right. There are many like terrible things that you can do to your characters that don't involve sexually assaulting them.
Yeah.
So many terrible things. Anyway, so that was on topic.
Yes, it was.
Yes,
it was. Now normally, like when you're playing D&D, it's with your friends, and you usually end up being friends even if you don't start out that way, like us. Yeah, but every so often you do end up as a player, like playing with someone who you just don't like or don't get along with. So as a player in that kind of situation, what's the best approach to like dealing with player to player conflict at the table?
It depends, honestly, because there's a lot of stuff you can try. Because I mean, we actually were having to deal with something of that not long ago. And yeah, you know what I'm talking about here, because
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
because we had players in our group that were checked out unless they were actually directly involved in what was going on, that couldn't be troubled to write anything down, that didn't really seem to care over much
Yeah.
or really want to do a lot. And also there's a mentality of, oh, well, the second I'm no longer winning, I'm not having fun anymore, and then just checking out on that. And then, we tried to sort of like talk them back into the whole thing of like, okay, well, you're having trouble with, being present. Is there something that the rest of the group can try to do to sort of, I don't know, help you interact or help you contribute?
Like, how can we make this fun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
You're
is
not
it that
having
we
fun.
can do to try to help you enjoy yourself? And there apparently was no solution that would work. So then eventually those people were just asked to leave because they were basically, I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. You help me out.
I mean, there's a level of, do the people at your table mesh well together? Do you get along? You don't have to be best friends, but you can't hate each other or be diametrically opposed all the time.
Right.
And in this situation, it had sort of devolved into kind of both of those things.
Yeah.
Like we all clearly didn't mesh. We had very different ideals about some very, very specific things. And there had been some, like, we're all hanging out in the chat and having a literal fight about vaccinations.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. But also like I'm sorry, your stats aren't as great as you'd want, but that doesn't mean we can't still play and have fun kind of thing. On top of just like, you can't play D&D if you're checked out at the table. You have to be present.
Yeah, and like one of the characters, like he was playing a character who, whenever they weren't directly involved in whatever was happening, they would literally go fall asleep somewhere. And whenever things started getting interesting, they wanted to try to re-inject themselves into what was happening. But like, no, sorry, you said you went to take a nap. Over
some time
way away.
Wake up, yeah.
Yeah, unless you wake yourself up, you're not coming. And I'm sorry, you were rolling. Let's see, you roll a disadvantage on perception to see if you notice the thing. Nope, sorry, you don't notice the thing. So sleep on. But on the other side of that, because those people ended up being just like, we couldn't work anything out, couldn't figure out what it was that was going on. Then there's actually another guy that we actually still play with right now, who was kind of in that same boat for a little, because he was playing a wizard, because that is literally the first character class he read about and didn't want to read anymore. So he made a wizard, and that's as far as he went. He didn't know how his own spells worked. He couldn't remember his own backstory. The DM kept having to just spoon feed him everything as we went. And it was the point where like, we kind of wanted to privately strangle him for all this. But then we did sort of figure out that the reason he was not really paying much attention and he was sort of checked out was the vibe that the other people were putting out. Because the second they were no longer in the game, he completely turned everything around to the point where he is really fun to play with now, even though he does keep casting Hypnotic Pattern at the worst times, you son of a bitch.
Good old Hypnotic Pattern. Yeah, so that's a happy story.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because I mean, it just depends on like what is the problem, and can you talk your way through it? Can you help the other person figure out what it is that is making them not have fun or making them unable to engage? And if you can, then cool, because everybody that wants to have a place at a table as long as they are willing to engage in the give and take that is any TTRPG, should have a place at a table.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you are willing to be there and show respect, you should be welcome. But if you're not, then there's a door. Show yourself out.
Learn some manners.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, I think because D&D is such a fulfilling hobby, so I think if you can figure out a way to keep people at the table to figure out what it is that's making them not able to engage or not able to have fun. Like if you can solve that problem, it's a good thing to do that. But some circumstances that we've seen like are not salvageable just because the other people are not willing to put in the work.
Right.
Or for whatever reason. Now, from another perspective, as a DM, what can you do when players are having conflict at the table?
I mean, first and foremost, if you're picking up those vibes, saying something, you're like, hey, y'all, is there a problem? Because, I mean, you really want your players to be able to work their things out on their own. But if they can't, then there is an element of you need to sit down, you need to talk this out. What you're doing is coming to the table. And when it comes to the table, that's when it's a problem. So when you see those things, it's sort of like you see something, you say something. Because
like with terrorism.
Because with that kind of thing, it can really destroy a game. Because once that conflict bleeds from your players into your characters, everything can start to go to shit in a heartbeat. And it's no longer fun for anybody.
Yeah, that's pretty much what you can do. Because as the DM, you basically have some responsibility for the mental health and well-being of the people that are at your table while they're at your table. So if people are starting to get aggravated with one another, or if they're starting to be unable to interact in any way that is not aggressive, then you do kind of have to step in and say, why? Is there a reason you're doing this? In character, I get this thing that you did, but what about these other 6 that just sound like you're being a dick? Like, can you explain this to me and tell me why you're doing this, and why is it specifically this other person?
Yeah, and it is of course the sacred duty of the DM to make sure your players are having fun.
Yeah, because if you're not trying to do that, then again, what business do you have being at that end of the table?
It's one of those things where the civility at the table is everyone's job. It's the DM's responsibility to, make sure things are running smoothly, but it is also the player's responsibility to recognize their own shit. Like, when it's grown folks, we're all adults playing this game. Like, I mean, we're not children. When it's literal children, it's different.
Even though we are literally playing make-believe, we're not children.
We're not children.
We're grown-ups, damn it.
I mean, when you're dealing with, and so much of the D&D community right now is grown-ass adults. When you're a grown-ass adult, behave like one. If you have a problem, say something. Don't just sit there and be passive-aggressive and hateful and let your character be bitchy for 4 sessions before you say, hey, what you did wasn't cool out of character. Can you back off? Because mind control and mind reading is not real outside of rolling the dice. And you need to be able to own your own shit and deal with it.
Yeah, it's sometimes difficult to get people that are grown-ass adults to actually behave like grown-ass adults instead of grown asses.
It's true.
Oh, true beans. True beans. Like cool beans, but true.
I get it. I see what you mean.
Just want to make sure the stream got it. Yeah, so speaking of civility, do you guys have like your top table etiquette tips for like new players? Like, what do you not do at the table? Basics.
The easiest thing is something that a while ago Will Wheaton had a whole essay on. Don't be a dick. Just like in general, just don't be a dick. show respect and treat other people like human beings, and be ready to engage with people. Don't stonewall people, like it is literally a give and take, yes and game. Don't sit there going no, 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 because things aren't going your way right now. Think about what you can do to try and work with what you have in the moment, and then turn things around by getting everyone else to work with you. I'm sorry you're not winning right now. What can you do to fix it that isn't just sitting there and being a toddler? But that's just it. Just don't be a dick.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the number one rules is everybody wants to be the hero. Everybody wants to be the star of the show. But remember that this is not about being in the spotlight. Just because you're the one rolling the dice this moment does not mean it is all your show all the time. Everybody's character needs their moment to speak and to shine and to do their thing. So
there are
often
multiple protagonists.
Yes, this is not your character's show and everybody else is your sidekick. This is an ensemble cast, and you need to share the scene.
Definitely. Cool. Yeah, those are both very good pieces of advice. One that I would add is, I think you should, it's okay to be very new at D&D, but you should have at least a tiny bit of an idea of what your character does and is capable of, because people will get annoyed with you if you forget your spells or
your own abilities.
Or your own abilities, or
Jay.
you just simply do not.
We're looking at you.
Guy makes the most hodgepodge, weirdest multi-classed characters ever and forgets half of his abilities, and you want to punch him.
But narratively, they're so brilliant that
they're so fun.
help but love them.
Oh my God, narratively they're just
amazing.
Narratively, it's like a revelation. Like, this makes perfect sense for the thing you described.
Yeah.
And I absolutely believe this work, but on paper, whenever he forgets his abilities, it's a garbage heap.
But knowing your stuff is really important.
Yes, that being said, we love you, Jay.
We love you, Jay. A brilliant storyteller who doesn't want to read. Which you know what? It's a mood. I don't blame him. But yeah, for new players, obviously they shouldn't be that worried about knowing all the rules or anything, because they can ask the DM, they can ask the other players, they can rely a little bit on. You can rely on your friends to a pretty large degree to know what's going on. But you do need to know your own shit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Cool beans. Let's see. Do we have time for one more question? Maybe.
Depends on how long the answer is.
I'm gonna say let's risk it. Let's risk it, guys. Okay. So how much do you think bleed is an issue? Like, how much is it a risk that in-character conflicts will bleed out?
It depends on how deep in character somebody gets. And I kind of have a problem with doing that sometimes myself, because I have many issues. So I need to remind myself that just because somebody's character is shouting down every idea my character has doesn't mean that person isn't actually my friend. It just means my character is having some maybe bad ideas, or maybe their character is just being a bitch right now. Either one doesn't mean that they hate me personally. So it can be a problem. You just have to try to remember that it is not you, even though it may be a piece of you. It is not actually.
I mean, I think it's a level of, it depends on how severe the conflict is and how long it's been going. And also, there is this level of how personal does this start to feel? It's one thing because my characters have gotten into fist fights with PCs multiple times. It's one thing to throw a punch at a player character for there being a shit, initial meetings. But it's another to take that so personally that now you can't get along at the table. And I think that there's a level of understanding and separation between you and character that needs to happen, and you need to bring that to the table. You need to remember that you are a human being. You are not your tiefling. You are not your drow. What's happening to your character, unless it's something traumatic, what's happening to your character is not happening to you. I mean, that isn't to say that when someone steps over the line, it isn't personal, it doesn't hurt, it doesn't affect you. But at the same time, do not take an in-character fight to be a slight against yourself. Just because I don't agree with your idea does not mean I think you're stupid.
Yeah.
Maybe my character thinks your character's stupid right now, but I don't.
Just because your character has a stupid idea.
You're looking at another person at the table, not their character. And the same goes for you.
Yeah, just because your character has a stupid idea doesn't mean you're a moron. That just because you created that character and that is the thing your character would suggest. It just means that someone else doesn't agree in character with the thing your character said at the moment.
Yes, definitely. To wrap up, I think in general, like people as they're playing should keep in mind that if you're ending like every session feeling upset, something is wrong.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And you should be communicating with your DM and with the other players to try to figure out what that is. And there are plenty of ways to fix this. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't, but that's not the way D&D should be.
No.
Should be fun.
Yes.
Okay, and that's all of our time for tonight. So thank you, Chad and Laura, for joining me today. Thank you, everyone who's watching. Thank you to Lady Meows and Sunbird for designing our logo and our theme song. Stick around afterwards for links and resources, and we will see you next week. Oh, and tune in on Friday for the next episode of Roll for Damage. Bye.
Hag fight.
Let's
hag
go
fight.
fight a hag.
Hag fight. Hag fight.
Hag fight. Hag fight.